How about J.R. Wilson today? Drops the first one,
Yeah.
then comes back and has a big day.
Just great to see him respond, and he's had a great spring. You know, he's a guy that we saw flashes, you know, as soon as we got here, and then it's just taken him a little time to kind of figure things out. But now he's really comfortable in the system. He sees an opportunity to have a big role, and I'm really pleased and proud of the spring that he's had.
You've wanted the identity of this offense to be run first, run with power, since you've got here.
Right.
I know you had a lot of linemen out and people dinged up at the back position, but do you feel like you're making progress overall in making that this identity?
Yeah, I think so. And today's probably not a fair assessment because, you know, 4 of our top 5 offensive linemen were on the sideline, and we had a couple of other injuries. Drake going down, he was making a ton of progress before his Achilles injury. So today's probably not the best, but I've seen glimpses. I think Noah kind of showed us what he's capable of. Had to get on him a little bit there. During the scrimmage, a couple of runs, I said, I thought you could have done a little bit more, and he responded. So that's going to give us some depth behind Kobe. We still got work to do, but I think the guys are starting to understand what we're trying to get accomplished. You know, set the tempo with the run, opens up the play action, and then the ability to play sideline to sideline, play fast, change tempos. I think the guys really have a good feeling of what we're trying to get established on offense.
What are you looking for on the offensive line that shows you're trending the right way with that identity and that mindset?
Yeah, it starts with communication. You know, guys being on the same page, everybody stepping in unison. Obviously, we want to have a physical mindset and mentality, but we're predominantly a zone scheme in what we do. And so when you talk about zone schemes as opposed to your gap schemes, it's a different mentality to start. But they all finish the same way. And so when you're a zone team, it's everything poetry in motion, everybody stepping in unison, shoulders and targets all aligned, all 6 of those guys, and starting to see that, you know, come together. You know, when we stop the film, we can see that the first steps are starting to mirror each other. The back shoulders are in unison with the shoulders of the offensive line, and then we see some success in some of our short yardage competitions that we've had throughout the course of the spring. So those are the things that I see as a coach that maybe you didn't get to see today because we had the teams equally split and we weren't at full strength in the trenches.
You talk about response for J.R. Wilson, but Tony Musk, after everything he's been through, his response to spring and his performance today.
Yeah, and man, I'm so proud of him. You think about he's a guy that came in here and, you know, transferred in and had big expectations for the season, and 40 plays into the year, he's out. And then he battles back and chose not to have surgery during the season and battled and won games for us, you know, gave us opportunities in other games. And then he's in a battle. You know, he's got a very young, talented quarterback in the room with him. And you know what? He stayed true to who he was and didn't let the outside noise, you know, get to him, and just focused on what he can control. And he understands that he needs Calandria, and Calandria now is starting to understand that he needs Tony, because competition brings the best out of both of those. So really super proud of him and just his demeanor. And then, you know, he had surgery and wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get to go as much as he did this spring. And then he attacked his rehab, and he was ahead of schedule. And so we were able to get some good quality work this spring out of him. And he comes out here today and shows, you know, what we saw, you know, flashes of. And I thought he was consistent. And then he appears a lot more comfortable. And then AC on the other side, you know, you see that what he's capable of. You know, we know the athleticism and how he can generate the big play, but I also saw, you know, some things that I was looking for, him trying to have the right body language, to challenge his teammates, to lead in the right way. So I've been pleased with both of their growth over the spring, and so we got healthy competition, and we know we can win with either one of them, and I want to see those guys just continue to go compete and feed off of each other, and I think their relationship is continuing to strengthen. Because now they understand that to be the best, you got to have somebody there to push you.
Well, I know this was spring's all about evaluating your depth and your roster. Spring portal is open. Do you still feel like corner is where you're focused, or any other position?
Well, there's other positions across the board, and we did a good job, I felt, as a staff, you know, filling some needs in the first, you know, signing window through the portal, and then also the early signees from the high school ranks that we got in here. And we still got needs at other positions, and you could pretty much say every position across the board, you know, we got a need. Corner from a depth standpoint, obviously we would love to add, you know, number numbers there. I mean, we need some competition at long snapper because we really only got one long snapper outside of Stevie Bracey that we're converting. So that's a need for us. Obviously, we were able to kind of solidify the inside. Drake goes down on the inside. We still got tackle that we gotta address, and D tackle we can use another body. Corner we could use another body. So there's positions across the board that you could say we have a need, but right now we don't have spots available unless we get into meetings this week with guys on the roster and something changes. So I don't know what this next week's going to look like. I'm anticipating, I want to say, we're going to stay intact. I haven't heard any rumblings yet, but we've also been laser focused on competing, getting through the game, and then we'll start having conversations as we kind of debrief and evaluate and start to say, okay, this is kind of where we're going to start going into the offseason.
Chris Tyree he has a track record in the return game. What could Sedan add from that regard?
Yeah, he kind of he Sparky. It was a thud drill. Sparky was supposed to thud him up, but I don't blame Sparky in that open field and I think we saw one time before when Sparky went to make a tackle, it didn't go as planned. So he kind of benefited, but I thought he did a good job. I wanted to see him, man, take a chance on that one that he fair caught. I thought he had some room right there, especially in that situation. Instead of being on the 11-yard line, he could have probably popped us out to the 20-25. So there's some decision-making things that we got to get him more comfortable with. But I think we know, athleticism-wise, he's dynamic enough. And, Trail's another guy that I think can give us something in the return game. So if we can have multiple guys, then especially in the kick return, when you got multiple guys back there, then they can't kick it away. They can't play the cat and mouse, so we have an opportunity to get returns. So I'm excited about what Tyree brings also, as a slot. He was out today, but we had enough opportunity to evaluate him in the practices that he was available. So Dre showed up, made a couple plays, really proud of him and the progress that he's made. You got to see Trail today. JR, obviously we know Malachi, Sedarian, so feel really good about the competitive depth. Thought Tylyric made some strides during this spring practice period from a receiver standpoint. So we'll see. Now it's time to just say, go to work, compete, and then we'll get 25 more practices before we really settle in on what it's going to look like come August 31st.
Is Drake the only long-term injury?
The only long-term, right now, that could impact, whether we get him back at the start of the season or not. Yeah, the other ones I feel confident that we're gonna, and then like Boley and Furnish and Jimmy, they all actually took snaps in practice. It was in a controlled environment with shoulder pads on. They were able to do some of the indie and a couple of the non-live drills, but there is contact, so that was encouraging. I think Josie is a couple weeks away from being turned loose to go work, and then Sage will be turned loose here pretty soon. So Elijah Gaines will be back here pretty soon. So a lot of those guys that had postseason surgeries, we didn't get them for spring practice, but we'll be getting them back here, probably by the end of the month, early May.
2 years ago. For Drake?
Timeline, I mean, they say that could be a 6 to 9 month, depending upon, recovery. Obviously, I think they did the technique that was consistent with most of the big guys. So you see, their world is different than a skill guy, right? So we're hoping that, and Drake's motivated, and he's the kind of guy that whatever you give him, man, he's going to work extremely hard to try and come in ahead of that. But so he's, his conversation is, man, Coach, I'm going to be back ready, and I don't know if it'll be quite at the start of fall camp or the start of September, but I anticipate that during the season we'll get him back at some point.
2 years ago, you were talking about guys being half out of the pool. Just kind of where do you feel this program is right now, coming off your third spring?
Yeah, I feel like we got majority of the guys, bought into what we're trying to establish. And I think that was evident with as many of the older guys having an opportunity, especially in this climate right now. They easily could have looked elsewhere and said, you know what, man, I'm gonna kind of take make the focus on me. But they chose to come back, and I think that was the first step. And watching these guys this spring, watching them compete today, watching the attitude, even though we had a lot of guys down on the offensive line and other guys getting banged up, and they still showed up every single day. I think they're hungry for success. I think they enjoy being around each other. You see a lot more camaraderie in the locker room. I walk through the locker room, and you're seeing guys, the way we have it set up right now, obviously it's by number, but you see guys from either side of the locker room. On the other side, you see guys from opposite sides of the ball, spending time. We have brunch. When we have brunch on Fridays, man, you see guys that aren't in the same position group, sitting down, eating together. So you're starting to see that they enjoy their time together. They're coming together as a team. And now we just got to navigate these next couple of weeks, just because it's that can easily change. And so I'm very, very cognizant of that. I'm very intentional in making sure that I create an environment that fosters team so that these guys, because at the end of the day, teams win. Right, and we want to accumulate as much talent as we possibly can, but talent doesn't win alone. You got to be a team. So that's my job, is to create that environment, and I think that we got guys that are bought into what we're trying to establish here from a team concept standpoint.
What's the difference between a healthy Chico and kind of the Chico that y'all had last year?
Yeah, I think it's just for any athlete, man. When you're not full speed, man, it's tough. Right, and you're constantly battling, what your body's telling you and what your mind is telling you. But when you're healthy and you're feeling good, and you're not thinking. And so you saw he's gonna get on me. He says I owe him 2 sacks out there today. One of them I let slide. There was one I let slide. He had one, but I said, hey, let it play. But it's good to see him back there around the quarterback. But what you see is just when a guy feels healthy, he's not thinking, he can play fast. And then when he can play fast, he's able to play free and go make plays.
We're going to do 2 more questions in the mat after the mic, and then Coach has got to go meet some recruits.
Claiborne Richards have many days like that?
Yeah, I mean, Claiborne's a guy that's constantly been showing up. From the day he got here, he was a guy that, oh man, he's got something to him, and I'm anxious to see the tape. But man, hey, nonetheless, he made a play, good throw, good catch, big play. But he's a guy that's caught our attention early on in his career, just with the skill set that he brings, the way that he prepares, and just his football IQ.
Tony talked a lot about just having a greater appreciation after battling through injuries and off-season surgery. Can you see a greater appreciation from him or from Noah Vaughn and Chico, these guys that have had to battle through some injuries?
Yeah, it's an appreciation just to be able to play. The biggest thing as a football player is you work 365 days a year for only 12 opportunities to get out on the field and truly compete. And if you compete well, you earn maybe a 13th or a 14th or a 15th, but that's not many. So most of your time you're preparing. So when you're not able to get out there and compete, and the game is taken away from you, you develop an appreciation just for the opportunity to be out there. And we also know that adversity builds character. And for young people, sometimes that's very, very difficult, especially for a football player, because to play this game, you got to have a mentality of being invincible. Right, because it's a violent, physical game. It never feels good. That's one thing about a football player. Your body only feels good one day. That's the first day of practice, right? That after that, your body's hurting, and so it takes a lot to play this game. And so when you're not able to be out there, it messes with you mentally. But to see those guys, bounce back. Really proud of Noah coming off the ankle. Chico, Tony. I can go down the list of guys that have an appreciation for just an opportunity to compete. And then just in general, from a program standpoint, trying to get these guys to just have an appreciation for your opportunity. Nothing's guaranteed. Like, today's all we got, right? We believe we're all going to wake up tomorrow, but there's going to be a lot of people that don't, right? So just having an appreciation for everything that you get to do. Appreciation for your family, your friends, your life, your job. That's something that I'm trying to build beyond just competing on the field.
Coach, you mentioned Andre Green. Could you talk a little bit about the other transfers, Kempton Sean, Corey Thomas?
So you saw Kempton making a couple plays out there. Wanted him to go after the ball. I think he had an opportunity to make a play on the ball. He went for the tackle, but you saw him. He was on some competitive plays and won those plays. And Jam Jackson's been encouraging to watch him and his development. Corey Thomas, I think everybody in our program has probably been the most impressed with Corey Thomas. I think you look at him physically, you're like, wow, man, he looks the part, but man, he's a football player. He's got a high IQ, very versatile. Didn't get as many snaps today because he's played a lot of football and also was nursing a groin a little bit. Trying to think of the other guys that have. Sage was down this spring. Drake was making some progress for us. Who am I missing? Trying to think. Trail, you saw Trail, y'all know about Chris Tyree, you saw Andre, make some plays, made some routine plays, and then he made some off routine plays, which was good. It was good to see. So, and then the other thing is they've done a really good job of just fitting in. You always worry about that when you bring guys, from different locker rooms. You don't know what culture they're coming from, but they've done a good job of really just fitting in. And I think some of it has to do with several of those guys are coming from smaller programs, so they have a great appreciation. Going back to the previous question that was asked, so they're also humbling the guys that we have, telling them like, hey, y'all need to be grateful for what you do have, because coming from other places, smaller schools, man, we didn't have the things that we have. So it's been really good to see them blend in the locker room. And then you got Sage coming from a program that's been near the top, and he's experienced some success at the championship level, and kind of, so you're getting a lot of different perspectives. But the guys have done an unbelievable job of taking all of that and kind of channeling it in the right direction as we build team.